Tail of the tape now for Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver the second time around. They've known each other since they were boys. They fought at 13. They're both 35 now. Tarver with the 3-inch height advantage, half-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. The height and reach were factors in the first fight in Tarver's favor. Weigh-in, Jones 1 pound under this time at 174. Tarver right on the limit at 175. Antonio, naturally the bigger man, has gone up to 187 overnight. Roy Jones at 180. CompuBox numbers coming off that first fight, Larry.
Well, what they tell you here is that Tarver landed a few more punches in the fight, threw quite a few more. The interesting statistic coming up are the power punches. Here Jones had an advantage, but what that number tells me is there are power punches and power punches. Jones really never landed a big solid punch on Tarver. Tarver raked Jones a number of times.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Roy Jones Jr. Antonio Tarver fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case a cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
A smiling Antonio Tarver. Back in the spotlight again, and he loves it.
If this was a debating contest, there's no doubt that Tarver would be the favorite. He's coming out of his dressing room talking. And really, he's very sophisticated and glib talker, maybe the best since Muhammad Ali. Before the first fight, he was jabbing at Jones as a country bumpkin, said his cows and pigs, his chickens and pigs were having nervous breakdowns in anticipation of the fight. For this one, he says that Roy has 100 copies of his fight with John Ruiz, but he can't find one of his fight with Tarver, and that his grandchildren will have to go through Google to find any trace of that fight because Roy doesn't want anybody to see it.
On the other hand, Tarver has said that it was watching Roy Jones in the 1988 Olympics at Seoul, Korea, which inspired him to resume an amateur boxing career that he had left behind and prompted him ultimately to get to the point where he is now.
And he was an outstanding amateur just as Roy Jones was. He lost to Vasily Zhirov in the 96 Olympics. He's only had 22 fights or so as a professional. So even though he's 35, he's a young 35.
And of course, as you surely know from watching the first fight, a southpaw. Jones is not unaccustomed to fighting southpaws. At one point, he fought a long string of substandard, ill-equipped southpaws in easily defending his light heavyweight championship. But this guy's different than any of the other southpaws that Jones has been in with because he's much more aggressive and a much bigger hitter. When he lost to Harding, he had a broken jaw and fought all the way through the fight anyway.
And then he took the rematch when he was ranked #1 and jeopardized that mandatory position to prove that he was worthy of a title shot.
And did he prove it? He knocked Harding out. So Antonio Tarver has made giant strides in the last couple of years. And tonight he tries to take that last stride to the top of the mountain that he believes he actually took last November. Here comes Jones.
At the first fight, whether it was because you thought Jones didn't take Tarver seriously enough or whether Tarver was that good, at the end of the night we saw something from Roy Jones that we had long wanted to see, which was how would he deal with adversity. He was seriously threatened with a defeat in that fight, and he showed us his championship quality in the late rounds, despite his deep fatigue.
And having won a fight for the first time with his mind and his heart instead of with his body, Jones found that he became more popular. That having shown vulnerability, he suddenly had a connection to the audience which might never have existed before. When he beat John Ruiz, he was the first former middleweight champion to win a heavyweight title in many decades. The one loss on his record when he hit Montel Griffin twice, when Griffin was already down on the canvas in the 9th round in Atlantic City. And then months later, he blew Griffin out with that memorable first-round knockout. So now they are both situated in the ring, and even though it's crowded up there, we're ready to throw it to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay Resort Casino of Las Vegas, Don King Productions is proud to present 12 rounds of boxing for the light heavyweight championship of the world. Brought to you in association with the Mandalay Bay and sponsored by CM Exchange. This contest is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chairman John Bailey, Executive Director Mark Ratner, and the World Boxing Council, President Jose Suleiman. The 3 judges at ringside scoring this bout will be Dwayne Ford, Dave Moretti, and Jerry Roth. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Jay Nady. And now, from the Mandalay Bay Resort Casino of Las Vegas, Nevada, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing blue, and he officially weighs 175 pounds. In his professional career, he has 21 victories, including 17 knockouts, with only 2 defeats. He comes to this ring tonight looking for revenge and redemption, to prove to the world that he is not just one of the 2 best, but that he is the very best light heavyweight in the world today. From Orlando, Florida, the #1 ranked contender and former light heavyweight champion of the world, Antonio Magic Man Tarver. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing gray, his official weight, 174 pounds. In 1998, he was voted that Olympics' most outstanding boxer, and now, as a professional, his record stands at 49 victories, including 38 knockouts, with only 1 defeat, which was disqualification and reversed by a first-round KO in rematch. He is universally recognized as, pound for pound, the greatest fighter over the past decade. Tonight, we turn the page to another chapter of the saga of a boxing superstar. From Pensacola, Florida, presenting the former middleweight world champion, former super middleweight world champion, former heavyweight world champion, the reigning, defending, 3-time light heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Buddy, you don't have to have it, I just want to make sure you have it.
Okay, baby.
All right, you guys, they gave me instructions from the dressing room. Do you have any questions?
I got a question. You got any excuses tonight, Roy?
Let's not ask questions like that. Let's touch the gloves and go to work.
Tonight, Roy.
Let's go to work.
Antonio Tarver wants to correct the scoring of the first fight. Roy Jones, in effect, wants to avenge a victory that was too close for his comfort. Let the fisticuffs begin.
They don't want to wait for the bell. Emmanuel, you seen that before?
I love it. No, I've never saw it, but I would like to see it more often.
Never seen it. I got a question. You got any excuses tonight, Roy? What a start.
Oh, he's very, very confident.
One thing Jones told us in a meeting yesterday, he said, you know, you never saw Tarver with his back to the ropes last November. That was because I was too tired. He said, tomorrow night, I'll put Tarver against the ropes.
And one of his most effective punches sometimes is that counter jab of Roy's. Whenever southpaw jabs, he likes to counter it real quick by slipping and then shooting his own jab very fast.
Now, they feint and face each other and feint again, and the crowd already rested, wonders what's going on. But Larry, what's really happening here is that you have two natural counterpunchers against each other,
That's right. And Roy Jones is taking a more positive, aggressive stance, but he's not throwing any punches yet. Neither is Tarver.
Neither man wants to go first. Finally, Tarver leads.
After about a minute, we see a punch.
Yes, both of these guys are really technical fighters anyway by nature, so this is only normal for them to fight this way.
You have to remember that what made the first fight dramatic was the jeopardy that Jones was in. A lot of it was this kind of posturing and looking for position.
And up until the times that Roy would actually go to the ropes, a lot of the first fight was this way, until Jones would go to the ropes and say, come on and throw your punches, Antonio.
And there were boos in the house during the first fight from time to time. And already Jones is much more active and much more effective in round one. That was the case on November 8th, when he seemed totally out of it those first two rounds.
And trying to keep the fight right in the middle of the ring where he has an advantage.
Straight right hand upstairs, straight right hand to the body. The straight right hand won the fight for Jones in November because he needed to win it that way, pecking to the body over and over with the right hand.
But Roy's not going to the ropes at all so far in this fight. And I don't think he's going to be on the ropes hardly at all, particularly early in the fight. If it does, it'll be late on.
Well, if he has the stamina to stay on his feet and move, he'll do it.
Now they're fighting in the center of the ring, and his hand speed and foot speed is being a problem for Tarver to deal with.
Because at this weight, there's never been hand speed and foot speed like Roy Jones. Whoa! Tarver hadn't gotten off really, and Jones is landing his right hand. So even though much of the first round was a phony war, posing and staring and looking, Jones has scored enough.
He's scored enough to win the round, possibly, but he hasn't really been able to penetrate or find a style yet that can penetrate through Tarver effectively.
Tarver lands a right hand.
Good right jab.
And another Tarver jab, and Jones answers with a hard right hand to the body as round one comes to a close.
All right, baby. That's what I want. Just keep the control. Keep the control. Put it in the middle. Keep the control. Keep your feints going. Keep your feints going. Okay? Yep. This joke ain't coming to you. Let's keep him going back.
Only round one. Let's get that jab working now. Okay, let's get the jab going.
Too much respect,
okay? Don't give them much respect. Baby. Okay, when he's backing you up, stay low.
Stop using that word, respect me.
Okay, okay, baby. So
ain't
know
no
what you?
Respect
then let's go out there and get yours. Come on, then go get yours, baby. Okay? Let's go get yours. Okay? Same as the last fight. Ain't nothing different. Okay? He's just trying to bully you. Okay? We ain't here for that. Okay, baby? Stay low. Keep that jab working now.
Jones's good friend Derek Smoke Gaynor is seated in round two. Between rounds, after listening to Alton Murkerson, Jones nearly craned his head all the way out between the ropes to listen to whatever it was Gaynor had to say.
So evidently he has a lot of respect for Gaynor. It's interesting, Murkerson has been with Roy throughout his entire career, and that's really rare today. It means about going on those 16 years almost.
Well, Roy Jones has been very loyal to people who work for him and to his friends.
He's a good man, and he's helped a lot of boxers down there in his town. And in addition, he's one of the few guys that continually contributes a lot to helping Drew McClellan.
He's been the chief benefactor to McClellan, who has been in distress ever since his 1995 fight with Nigel Benn. Of course, McClellan and Jones were rivals in the amateurs and might have fought each other as professionals.
Yeah, you know what? It's still interesting that even though he knew that he may fight Gerald, when Gerald would fight a lot of fights, he would actually come to the fights early in Gerald's career and support and even worked in the corner with me at one time.
Now in round 2, very much the same kind of action that you saw toward the end of round 1. Tarver stalking now more aggressively, more concertedly, and seemingly accepting the role of the leader in the counterpuncher's war. And there's a hard left hand by Antonio Tarver. Jones tries to come back with a right to the body and a right upstairs and another right to the middle of the belly.
You know, it's interesting. I'm watching Tarver. He seems to still be giving Roy problems. Roy has not found a way still to get a sustained attack against him.
And down goes Jones on a hard left hand, and that is the most that Roy Jones has ever been hurt. Only Lou DeVal ever knocked him down. Jones may not get up, and he makes it up.
It's over.
Jay Nady stops the fight, and Jones is still on Queer Street, and that's amazing. What a statement by Antonio Tarver. One big left-hand shot.
He said, what excuses do you have tonight, Roy? No excuses.
And now there's a fight breaking out in the ring. There's a fight between supporters in the ring, and our cameraman, Gordy Sager's gone down.
Jim.
The action has been quelled in the ring. I'm not really sure what was going on, but I know that Gordy Sager, our cameraman, went down and appears to be okay.
Alton Murkerson said Roy Jones has gotten old, and you could see it because he was throwing one punch at a time, and he was measured by Tarver.
And he never found a way to really get through to Tarver. And Tarver just patiently took his time and really straightened up.
That is the first time in his career he's really been hurt. He's gone down before one time, but there was a perfect left hand. Roy never saw it coming. Roy is out, and Roy may be out of boxing.
And that's why Tarver wanted to be the counterpuncher, because he answered Roy's right hand with a perfect left-hand shot that knocked Jones out. There it was. One previous knockdown against Lou DeVal, that was a flash in Madison Square Garden in New York. This is the first time Roy Jones has been hammered by a power punch, and it's cost him a fight.
In 2 fights now, we have to say that Tarver has bested Roy Jones.
Unquestionably. There's the answer. You know, Jones was still a heavy favorite in this fight, despite everything that happened last November. Here's his valiant effort to get up, but when he managed to get to his feet, at 9, I believe, Emmanuel, he was still wobbling.
If he'd have got on up and they let the fight continue, he would have been seriously hurt.
There's one other thing, Emmanuel. When a fighter has spent most of his career trying to avoid punches and never taking a lot of punches, when he gets nailed with a big punch, that's what can happen.
And this was very interesting. This Tarver seems to have his number. And the punch he caught him with, it was very difficult to avoid that. Tarver had just been hit himself, and he got right on top of Roy and hit him with a short punch that Roy never even saw.
Right. You have to say that Antonio Tarver not only talks a good fight, he fought a good fight.
Absolutely. And here's Tarver's ultimate revenge. He won't have to worry about what the judges see in the fight tonight. They can go home just as Jones can go home, because Tarver sent everybody home with that big left hand. Antonio Tarver rules the light heavyweight division now. And, of course, just as was the case throughout most of Jones's career, aside from Roy Jones, there isn't much significant big-name opposition in the light heavyweight division, and suddenly now there will be speculation, Emmanuel. We'll talk about it later. There will surely be speculation about whether Tarver wants to go up and test his southpaw style as a heavyweight, because his height and his natural body style might give him the chance to do it. Let's go to Michael Buffer with the particulars on the knockout.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Jay Nady reaches the count of 10 at 1 minute, 41 seconds of round number 2. The winner by knockout victory. And once again, the light heavyweight champion of the world, Antonio Magic Man Tarver.
Hey, this is for the fallen soldiers, baby. I dedicated this fight to them. Bring our people home from Iraq, baby, so they can reunite with their family. Tampa, Florida, Orlando, Florida, we on the map. I love you all.
The man loves to talk, and right now he can talk all he wants.
Yes, he can.
He can talk for the next few months if he wants
tell him to shut up.
I'd like to listen, quite frankly, because this is going to be a great interview. This man is as exciting once he opens his mouth as anybody we've had in the sport. You made that point before the fight.
Yeah, I'd love to hear him talk. I mean, he makes a lot of sense, and he comes up with some good phrases.
Oh, and there's going to be a whole lot of I told you so.
Yeah.
And we at HBO might come into harm's way just a little bit, but that'll be fun too. Let's find out as we go to Larry Merchant with Antonio Tarver.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. A bit chaotic. Okay, fellas, please quiet a little bit so I can hear Antonio. Congratulations, Antonio. You said before the fight to Roy, no excuses this time. Did you see that he was vulnerable the way he was fighting you?
No, the man came out strong. He tried to dictate early, but I stayed confident. I stayed composed. And, I knew it was a matter of time. When God is with you, can nothing be against you. And I knew it was my time. Judge that. Well, judge that, baby. Judge that.
Well, could you see that he was throwing one punch at a time? He really was trying to make you take the lead, and that he was open, or was it just a punch you threw that landed?
No, it was hey, knockouts happen in boxing. I was dressed down in defense. I saw everything coming, and I knew that, when he came in and tried to get offensive, I was going to let my hands go. And I was in great shape thanks to Buddy McGirt. We worked real hard, and I never gave up on my dream. So here I am, Larry.
Obviously, this big crowd and all the people out there are shocked by what happened. Even you seem a little surprised the way it ended.
Larry, if you knew the steps I had to take to get here, it's just a jubilee. I'm just happy, and I just know that God lives, and can't be denied. Can't be denied.
All right, let's take a look at the knockout, and you tell us what you saw and why you did what you did.
Right there. He missed. Perfectly timed. We both threw at the same time, and I just turned it over shorter than he did, and it caught him right on the kisser. That was a perfect punch. Perfect punch.
All right, we're going to take a look from another angle. Describe it again.
Okay. Right there, he's trying to bait me. He's trying to feint. I missed my jab. But right here, I'm still in position, and I beat him to the punch with a strong overhand left. That was a beautiful, beautiful executed punch.
What does this night mean to you, Antonio?
It means everything to me, because for so long people say I couldn't, people say I wouldn't, but I never gave up on my dream. I never gave up on myself. I knew that Antonio Tarver was the best fighter in the whole wide world. Pound for pound, baby. Pound for pound.
You said you were like, the two of you were like Siamese twins who grew up together. You parted, you came back together again. How would you describe those former Siamese twins now?
Well, you know what? We still stuck together, because this fight will go down in the history of boxing as an instant classic. This is Marvin Hagler Hearns all over again. And right now, it's just, I'm glad to be a part of that. Without the great Roy Jones, none of this would be possible. It takes a great fighter to beat a great fighter. And you're looking at a great fighter tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, let's just take one brief look into the future, Antonio. Do you want to stay as a light heavyweight? Are you open to an invitation to fight one of the hundreds of heavyweight champions out there? What do you see, or is it just too soon to even think about it?
Right now, with a great victory like tonight, I'm going to bask in it, enjoy it as long as I can. But like I said, the money is 6'7", 7 inches tall. I'm willing to fight anybody.
All right, well, you got laryngitis at last.
At last.
After talking for 6 months.
I'm finally at a loss for words, man.
We didn't think we'd see that in this lifetime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Don King, the greatest promoter in the world, for believing in this fight and for believing in me.
All right,
thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Congratulations. One word, Don. Is Antonio Tarver a candidate to fight for one of the heavyweight titles that you promote?
Yes, he is. He's a candidate for anything. Tonight he did a super thing. He beat Superman. He certainly showed that he's a great, great fighter. This was a shock and amazement of the world, as Muhammad Ali would say. And we're just delighted that Antonio Tarver came in here and made this fight what it can be. It was a great cash card all the way through. And all of my heavyweight champions are ready to fight anybody. Vitaly Klitschko is the top of the list for Layman Brewster, for John Ruiz, or for Chris Bird. And now we got a new one in there with this young man here who just shocked the world tonight on HBO pay-per-view. There's Tarver, Antonio Tarver.
Thank you very much, Don. Jim?
Here's one of the great elements of this story. Ever since Olympic coaches soured on Antonio Tarver in Atlanta in 1996, he has been subjected to a backroom, behind-the-back insidious campaign during which he has received the worst insult that can ever be hurled at an athlete. Over and over and over, all of us in the sport have heard people say, Antonio Tarver has no heart. It's such a rubric that it was almost a given, an article of faith. Well, they'll never be able to say it again. No one should ever utter, after what he did 6 months ago, after what he did tonight, that Antonio Tarver has no heart. That is disproven forever. Here's another fighter with heart. Let's see how he responds to his worst moment. Larry Merchant with Roy Jones.
Thank you, Jim. Roy, there's a first time for everything.
Yeah, you know how that goes, Larry, and there's no excuses on my part. I come out, I do what I do. You know, I've had an illustrious career. I've enjoyed what I've done. You know, and guys always are up to fight Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. has a hard time getting up to fight guys, you know what I mean? Because it's really nobody out there that Roy Jones Jr. really feel that way about. So, you know, it happens.
But you have to feel that in terms of preparation, you gave your best.
Yeah, I did. I gave it what I had, you know, and I got myself best prepared that I could, you know, under the situation. I'm not making no excuses, and, you know, it happens like that sometimes.
Do you think that you're trying to stay in the middle of the ring and take control of the fight in some way, left you open?
I'm not really sure to look at it and see again. The main thing is that, you know, I'm a warrior. I'm going to fight. So, like, even when I don't feel well, I don't feel good about certain things, I'm still going to fight. So I'm always going to go down and fight, and I thank God for blessing me, giving me the opportunity to come out and do what I do.
Are you suggesting there is something wrong with you coming in tonight?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying Roy Jones Jr. going to fight regardless. He don't care. You know what I'm saying? So,
what did you two say to each other after the fight?
I said good fight, good shot. That's all I can say.
All right, we'd like you to take a look, your second look at it, but this time you may get a different view of what happened.
All right. I threw a right hand, and he came up, I backed out, and he threw an overhand right off of my right hand. I tried to throw a hook, and he threw an overhand, and it was a good shot. Very good shot.
Has anything like this ever happened to you before, anywhere, anytime?
Yeah, I've been knocked down as an amateur once. Something similar to that happened to me, and you know, it happens to the best of us.
What does this mean for the rest of your career? Do you want to fight Tarver again? Do you want to go back to the heavyweight division, or is it over?
I could fight Tarver again. I could go back to the heavyweight division. Actually, fighting somebody like Tarver is not really of interest to me, because that's why I don't get motivated for these type of fights. The heavyweight fights were the better ones, were the funner ones, and then I let myself come down to try to, you know, do this for the people, for the fans, and I should have left it alone. But I did it, and you know, the guy wanted a good fight. I have no excuse. I thank God for blessing me, giving me the opportunity to come out and do what I do. I did. I gave him my all under the circumstance that I could, and that was that.
So you're suggesting that when you come back, you're not going to go out on this kind of a defeat, and you'll come back as a heavyweight?
No, I ain't said nothing. Yeah, I ain't said what I might do. You know, I ain't sure if I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna stay the same. I ain't sure what I'm gonna do yet. If I don't have no more interest in it than I do now, then it's best for me to stop.
You've accomplished everything you've ever wanted to accomplish in boxing.
Exactly.
And these fights are just icing on your big cake.
Basically, you know what I mean? It's like, for me, I have no real enjoyment in doing nothing like this. I would rather fight the heavyweights. When you fight a guy like this, it's like, what you fighting for? What you doing it for?
Thank you again, Roy Jones.
Thank you.
Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Larry. And Emmanuel Stewart, many in the arena still just standing here, sort of basking in the shock and the excitement of what has happened with Antonio Tarver's sudden reemergence at the top of the light heavyweight division. We're going to take a look back at the second round, the round in which Jones was knocked out. And I want you to talk about what we're looking at, keeping in mind that Larry Merchant suggested that he thought he could see signs of the aging fighter in Roy Jones, in that he was only throwing one punch at a time.
Well, you know, Jim, I didn't really see that. I saw Roy fight normal. I think it's Tarver himself. Tarver's just got Roy's number, and he has this little strange way all the time of just backing back just enough where Roy can't counter effectively. And it's a lot of it just Tarver. And the thing that I said before the show that he would have to do in order to beat Roy was to be able to deal with the speed and to exchange with him in the ring instead of just, you know, backing back all the time. And that's what he did. He got into an exchange, and he came out the better of it.
How about the hand speed with the left hand when he was able to trade punches with Roy and get there first?
Roy still has a little better speed, but Tarver just has that little style, a little rhythm that's just a problem for him. And he works that little right jab over top that bothers Roy a lot, too, because most guys don't even try to jab with Roy.
Remember, Jim, before the fight, he said possibly Tarver would have given him problems on the best day he ever had.
Oh, you said that.
Right, and the reason is that he's a counterpuncher and very, very patient, okay? He doesn't let Jones out-patience him, if that's a word in this context. And he made Jones a little anxious to get to him.
Well, I don't think any fighter's ever gone in with this kind of confidence against Roy Jones. I mean, obviously, he was equally confident last November, but tonight it produced that result.
Well, I have to give him a lot of credit. He went in and he was aggressive. He stood toe-to-toe with Roy, where the first fight he would just back off every time Roy would come after him. And I just think if they would fight a million times, he's going to always be a problem for Roy Jones.
He's kind of an unusual physical specimen for our sport. 35 years old, but largely untouched at 35. That makes him similar to some people in the heavyweight division, incidentally.
Don't forget, he actually quit boxing for about 5 years. And after seeing Roy Jones win the Olympics, then he decided to get back into boxing. So he's well rested. And he has that right jab. And that jab was a big, big factor tonight. Roy never seemed to get away from that jab. It was a pest, and he jabs over top of Roy's shoulder, which makes it very difficult, especially when you're a tall guy.
What are Antonio's possibilities now? Could you see the heavyweight thing?
Being the heavyweight division is what it is today, and Antonio Tarver is 6'2", and they say walks around weighing about 210 pounds. Yeah, I could see him possibly fighting as a heavyweight and being effective. He's a very intelligent fighter.
Michael Moorer is the only southpaw fighter ever to have held heavyweight championship belts. Now here comes another southpaw who might conceivably go into the division. Larry, your final thoughts on Antonio Tarver's knockout of Roy Jones?
It's an old thought, Jim, you've heard before. It could apply to a number of recent fights. We live in the theater of the unexpected. Think about what happened tonight. Think about last week with Manny Pacquiao and Marquez, in which Marquez is knocked down 3 times in the first round and dramatically comes back to get a draw. Think about the Brewster Vladimir Klitschko fight, in which Klitschko was completely dominating Brewster and ran out of gas. Think of that wild slugfest between those two big heavyweights, Vitaly Klitschko and Sanders. You just don't know what you're going to get, and all the conventional wisdom in the world before the fights often gets stood on its head when they fight the fights.
I'll go double on that one. Well, when you spend a lot of time with Roy Jones, you hear a great deal of homespun philosophy. He is full of wit and wisdom. Right now, the attitude has to be philosophical, as Roy Jones, with his close cadre of friends and supporters, most of whom have been with him throughout his entire 16-year professional career, repair to the dressing room to face a situation they've never dealt with before, the aftermath of a shocking and complete defeat. James Brown.
All right, Jim Lampley, thank you so very much. And you know, Jim, I think the real measure of the character of a man as well is how he handles defeat. My hat is off to Roy Jones Jr. in that, as he said prior to this bout, if I lose, I will have no excuses. He gave no excuses in the ring, and as far as I'm concerned, that's good. I asked Emmanuel Stewart right before the main event, could you detect a hint of doubt in Roy Jones's mind? He said he could, and in fact, it was well documented. Let's give a listen in Roy Jones's locker room.
Yeah, that going backwards. He gonna do a punch going backwards. Yeah.
Like a scared man is dangerous, man.
That's
like
right.
Yeah,
he was scared.
Scared man is
He's dangerous as hell.
You yourself, motherfucker, scared now.
Yeah, what the problem?
You seen it from the beginning. From the beginning, you seen him
scared. He gonna be scared like that, so you don't know what he might get. And that makes it very different.
I got one bad headache. I'm going in the room, but I know we're finna have 1992 great guards.
Man, you know, for me though, big, it ain't even that. It's like you get ready. I do it fast. You get ready. It ain't that no more like that. I mean, you beyond them days almost.
I feel you. When you just, like Mike said, when it ain't fun for
when
him
it ain't that no more, you don't. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Mike said when it ain't fun no more, he just get out of there.
Like, I want to have fun, but it wasn't nothing to me. You got you know what I'm saying? It's just like I was just there. You know what I mean? But you know, it's like.
Well, as we listen in